Edinburgh had the physicality, the line speed, set piece dominance, threats out wide, but they also had 4 yellow cards. It was Munster who came away with the win. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. This was definitely a bit of a strange one. Edinburgh, performance-wise, other than basically yellow cards and discipline, you can't really fault them. They did everything I think the coaches would have been asking of them, and they'd be scratching their heads why they haven't won this. But, it's Edinburgh attacking early on, but a wide ball from Velicott ends up going into touch. Munster take the throw quickly through Smith. He gives it to Nash. Nash breaks. He then kicks the ball in behind. Edinburgh have players back there trying to cover, but they're diving on the ball and they actually manage to pinball it. It pings around a bit, goes back over their own line, and Smith gets there first and he's able to dot down to score. Conversions missed, 5 points to 0. Munster in the lead, very much against the run of play. Edinburgh then, they come back forward to the corner from penalty, go to the maul, get some decent momentum. They then shear off infield and over they go. Ashman is the scorer. Healy hits the post with the conversion, 5 points all. We're tied back up again. Edinburgh though back into 22, looking dangerous, but Munster holding defence as Wishley gets over the ball for a penalty. But still, it's looking like, Edinburgh really are dominating a lot of facets of the play. And, looking at Munster's handling, you'd think that they were the team who've only had one game under the belt so far this season. Edinburgh putting on real pressure with their rush defence. Then a Munster 5-metre defensive lineout goes awry. They kind of overthrow to the back. The ball goes loose. Ashman snaffles that up. Edinburgh then pound away at the line before Velicott, very smart and very quick, gets the ball down on the line, converted for 12 points to 5. Edinburgh winning all the collisions and Munster really struggling to get any kind of go forward. Munster then do finally get a bit of momentum, win a penalty into the 22, kick that to the corner, go to the maul, but then they've got to shift it because Edinburgh able to halt it and get players in there as well to try and disrupt. And it's Young then goes to the bin for infringing close to his own line as Munster were trying to, move it one man out and get it closer over that line. Munster with an extra man, but then Edinburgh next play, after the Munster penalty, they turn the ball over and kick it clear, and Munster not really being able to put anything really together at that stage. We then have a Timo check for an upright tackle on Haley by Darcy Ray, and the Edinburgh prop goes to the bin. It's a review for possible red, but thinking straight away that should stay as a yellow, and that's what eventuates. Munster then back to the corner, but you're thinking, can their set piece actually deliver? It's been absolutely atrocious, all night. Edinburgh disrupt them all again, but then Milne breaks off and forces his way over to score. Conversion is missed, 12 points to 10, but Munster have a bit more of a foothold in the game. Munster then get Farrell free on the right. He passes back inside. Patterson tackled off the ball, and Munster, it's a chance to kick a penalty to maybe go in leading at the break, but decide, no, we're going to go to the corner. But the half ends with Munster knocking on 5 metres out from their own line, Edinburgh kicking the ball clear, and halftime score 12-10, Edinburgh in the lead. Second half then, Edinburgh on the attack early on, being pushed back, but then there's a pinpoint cross kick from Lang, lands in the bread basket for Darcy Graham. He shrugs off an attempted tackle and goes over to score, converted for 19 points to 10. And, most of the quality in this game came from Edinburgh. Munster did have a few quality ones. Most of those came through Farrell. Munster then, they break through Nash and it's actually a nice offload from Farrell that actually puts him away. And then Edinburgh come in off their feet. Freddie Douglas goes to the bin for that. I thought maybe a little unlucky for him there, but really with the referee, things aren't going well for Edinburgh. Munster then to the corner. Edinburgh sack them all and then win a penalty as they get over the ball. And yet, Edinburgh just had that Munster maul on toast for much of the game, and the rest of their set piece as well. Farrell then creates another line break for Munster, and they're about 5 minutes out. Edinburgh managed to scramble back though and halt Munster from quick recycle and scoring, but Munster do recycle a couple of times, and then Mill gets over for his second. Conversions missed, 19 points to 15. They're beginning to chip away at the Edinburgh lead. Farrell, after that then Bradbury goes to the bin for a crock roll, as Edinburgh were on the attack and looking like they might actually give themselves a bit more of a cushion that may have actually led to the win for them. And that goes for an off-field review, thinking that possibly is close to a red, certainly than the other one that went to a review, but it ends up being a yellow, and really can't complain too much about it because Edinburgh did get 4 cards in the game. Munster then kick into the 22 from subsequent penalties. They've got 2 penalties on the bounce. The maul gets a bit of momentum for once. A couple of backs come in and help them, but Edinburgh's still getting in there to disrupt, so they have to move the ball. They go inside to Farrell. He bends the line, and then that just creates that little bit of momentum for Munster. The few recycles later then, and Finian Wycherley gets over for the bonus point try. Conversions missed, 20 points in 19. Munster edging in front, as we're coming towards the end of the game. And then at that point, we do hear that the yellow stays a yellow. Edinburgh at this point Munster in the Edinburgh 22, couple of minutes left to go. And you're thinking, well, Munster could steal the win here and potentially deny Edinburgh losing bonus point, which would have been very cruel for Edinburgh. And, they get, secure the ball and they get themselves onto Edinburgh line, absolutely under siege. And then Coombs finally forces his way over, with Odogbo in support. Great to see Odogbo back as well. He's been out for a very long time, like a real prospect, for Munster there. And I think, had he not had those problems with injury, we probably would have seen him, with Ireland as well. And certainly someone to keep an eye on. On the same note as well, from the Edinburgh side, somebody that really stood out to me was McConnell. He went off. He's off it by this stage, but huge impact from him for them. But then we find out that Coombs' try is chalked off for a knock-on in the build-up after a TMO review. Edinburgh now, they're 5 minutes out from their own line to have a scrum, win a penalty. They go upfield, win another penalty, upfield again. Now they're in Munster territory, and even though the clock is in the red, a lot of Munster fans are sweating, and especially when Edinburgh then claim the ball and maul it from about the 10-minute line right the way up to the 22, and you're thinking, Munster may not be able to stop this, and if they stop it, it may be illegal, and they might give away the penalty that's going to lose them the game. But the maul comes down, there's no infringement, and it's deemed unplayable, and that's it. The game is over, full time, 20 points in 19. And yeah, you're left thinking, how did Munster win that? Like, Edinburgh had all of the cards, in both senses of it. They had all the cards in terms of performance, but also all the cards in terms of they got 4 yellow cards in the game. Normally at this point in a review, especially for the URC, I would love to go through some stats with you, but apparently URC now have a new website, which looks nice. It's better, I think, than their old one. It's certainly the redesign. But there's no stats tab. There's a recap tab and there's a lineup tab. And that's it. So let me just go through some players I thought that stood out for me, at least. I thought Darcy Ray in the scrum, absolutely dominant. Then I said Liam McConnell in the back row for them, brilliant. All of Edinburgh's back row were immense, and I think their pack really did front up here. Massive physicality from them. In the backs then, Ben Velicott, such a smart player, keeping the ball alive all the time, always aware of any opportunities that are there. Ben Healy, I thought, was a bit mixed at 10. Duan van der Merwe had a couple of decent runs where he was like breaking tackles and stuff, but mostly quiet, honestly. James Lang was decent in the centres, and Darcy Graham of the back three, definitely the most lively. Wes Houston, decent at full back. And then in terms of their, from the bench, I thought Glenn Young was decent off the bench, and Ben Muncaster. But I think it was, Munster had a bit more from the bench, which, like, looking at the two benches, you wouldn't kind of have expected that, really. Then on the Munster side, looking at things, Michael Milne, 2 tries for him. Dimmer Barham was okay around the field, but that line-out has to be sorted out. That line-out was absolutely atrocious. Ollie Yeager had to go off early. I think maybe he failed an HIA. I'm not sure. Like he was kind of holding his head when he went off. I think it was a failed HIA for him. Second row then, John Klein. Not much impact on the game, honestly. Finian Wycherley, was decent. The back row then, I think most of the time overshadowed, especially the first half, by the Edinburgh team. But then, Coombs and Quinn got them a little bit of go forward in that second half, but they had to fight for every centimetre, not just metre, and found it very hard, really, to get their team on the front foot. Paddy Patterson was, I think, a mixed bag at 9, and the same with JJ Hanrahan as well at 10. Thought his, some of his passing and play was decent, but ran up a few blind alleys, a bit kind of aimless with kicking, and then poor from the tee as well. Then Andrew Smith looked lively on his wing. Sean O'Brien was a bit quiet in the centres. Tom Farrell, absolutely outstanding. Probably the one player, I'd say, from Munster that absolutely outshone his opposite number. Calvin Nash, decent at times on the wing. Mike Haley, before he went off, some good moments, but not amazing. Then off the bench, Josh Wycherley, great impact from him. Thought John Ryan did well as well, coming on into the front row. A Dogbo then, brilliant from him, and Gleeson, some decent touches from him as well off the bench. And then I thought Tony Butler, coming on at 10, did a decent job as well, and maybe he's gonna get a few starts this season as well. But as I said, I'd love to have some stats to hand to go through some stuff with you, because it's hard to, without the stats, it's hard to really paint the picture of how dominant Edinburgh were in that game, and how unbelievable it is that Munster actually came away with the win in the end, because absolutely dominant. Line out, scrum, maul was brilliant. Line speed, forcing knock-ons, and then those threats as well. With the carry, go forward from their big men as well, carrying. But unfortunately, we don't have any stats to back it up. But eventually, when some stats come out, and I don't know when the stats will come out, Because there seems to be like a stats thing on the site, which is just the season to date, which is not very good. But let's talk about each of the teams briefly before we finish. So we started losing at Edinburgh. Again, performance-wise, apart from like, and it's weird to say apart from 4 yellow cards, because you should never get 4 yellow cards in a game and expect to be winning. But apart from the cards, absolutely dominant in almost every facet of the game. And, you look at that and think there's not much in terms of actually the general play, set piece, etc., that they need to improve on. But having said that, they've now played 2 games and they don't have a win on the board yet, right? And then Munster, you look at, like, they struggled, against Cardiff last week. They struggled to win in this one, but they're now the team with 3 wins from 3 games. And even though the performance wasn't up to the level of Edinburgh, you would prefer to be in Munster's position with those 3 wins, because if they keep on, getting those results, the performances are going to come with it, because the confidence that those wins are going to instill in those players, that idea that, it doesn't matter if we're not winning collisions, we can still actually win the game. That's a brilliant thing for a team and a squad to have. And you look at it as well, like, again, the back line kind of misfired at times, but there's a lot of decent players in that back line. And if they get them working together, they could start to, really go on, a real run. Now, the thing is, next up, they have Leinster, who've been like a real bogey team for them, especially in recent years. So if they get a win there, confidence will be absolutely sky high for this team. But, it's the best start they've had to a season in a very long time. Even the year they won the URC, they actually had a poor start to the season, and it was the back end of the season that, brought them back up into the playoffs and got them to the final and ultimately over the line to win the trophy. So, in terms of results, again, very good start to the season for them. But again, there's a lot to work on, especially set piece wise. And you think that, they have those wins under the belt, but Munster are a team who want to compete in the URC, but also in the Champions Cup as well. And the set piece that they have, they're not going to be able to live with a set piece like that in the Champions Cup, and they've got to sort it out before then. So a lot of work for them to do, but a lot of smiles from them as well after 3 wins in a row. Edinburgh, still looking for that first win of the season, but if the performances are like that in the next few rounds, it won't be long in coming for them. But let me know what you think down in the comments.